Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Noelle and I review and unbox subscription boxes here on my channel, and today I have a book box that was not sent to me for review. It is from Once Upon a Book Club. I am a subscriber of their adult fiction monthly box where they bring stories to life by including some gifts for you to open along the way when you come to a little sticky note that tells you it's time to do so. Now I do have a link and a code, however, so that you can save some money if you choose to get a subscription or any of the one-time boxes from Once Upon a Book Club. It is simply Hi Noel 10, and that will save you 10%. I'll leave that for you in the description box below. Just as a reminder, it did change a few months ago. It was something else before, so if you had that written down somewhere else, just go and make sure that you update your notes. It's Hi Noel 10. So this is what the box looks like. It's always a different size depending on the contents of the box, but it's fashioned to look like a book. I still don't know why the adult box has to be hot pink, but they also have young adult, and I think they call it the tween box now. It used to be like the middle grader box. They also do all kinds of limited edition one-time boxes. I do like to get those when I have enough credit from you all using my links to do that, but for the time being, I'm just going to stay subscribed. I usually do 3 months at a time. It is $59.99 per month. That does include the shipping, and it includes all of the Once Upon a Book Club sort of accessories, I suppose you could call them. For example, we get this nice reading guide. So each of the boxes has a title that's kind of a hint as to the title of the book that's featured. So this time it was Dark Secrets, pretty vague, but now they do have it so that you can actually find out the name of the book, because they'll send out hints about a month in advance so that you know if you want to skip, or maybe sometimes you want to switch over to the young adult option for that month. So I do appreciate that. For the most part, as long as it's not like a saccharine sweet romance, then I will go for the book. And they get a lot of pretty recent releases. They also, because they are so big, are able to have sort of that buying power where they get nice interviews with the author, and then they do have discussion questions if you want to actually enjoy it as a book club option. And I know that we have used some one-time Once Upon a Book Club boxes in our own book club. By the way, if you are interested in joining, we're going to get started on our second quarter book selection very, very soon. You might not be able to get the box that we're doing with it, but you should be able to get the title, and you can definitely join us. It's over in our Facebook group. I'll leave a link for that in the description box below. Then on the back, they usually include something that kind of goes along with sort of the story. It might be like a crossword puzzle. Often it is a recipe, and this one is for a lemon poppy seed cake. Now, some of the other things that they always include is their 5x7 quote card. This time it's very bookish. It says, "Books had always been my companions, a way of escaping my dreary and very ordinary life." And that is from, again, the author is Emily Critchley, and the book title was The Undoing of a Violet Claiborne. It was a pretty hefty book, but I did really enjoy it, and I think it's pretty cool. They put the little Once Upon a Book Club sticker on there so that you know. I really will read the blurb for it. If I have time, I will read the author's letter, which I do think that's a really cool feature that Once Upon a Book Club is able to do most of the time. We got a signed book plate, and she has a lovely signature, Miss Critchley. And this is, again, to match the book, so that's always kind of nice. And then we always get, let's see, a bookmark with that same quote on it. And then finally, they've added this maybe a year ago now, the collectible sticker, so that you can use it as sort of a, you know, evidence of your reading, like a reading journal, if you will. If you're like me and you don't take a lot of time to write down a lot about the books that you do read, I'm just glad that book boxes have gotten me in the habit of reading or even listening to audiobooks a little bit more regularly. So there were 4 gifts this time around. One of them was kind of a paper gift. That was something that they used to do like a lot more of, you know, a few years ago, and I never really found the value in those. For me, I was always sort of like, I would rather you just not include that because it's something that I don't know what to do with and I feel bad throwing away, or use that like cost and put that into a future box or the quality of the items that are inside. The quality of the items, aside from that one, was not bad this time around. And again, this is a review. I know some of you get mad about it, but I'm just reviewing the curation more so than the book. I will say that this time, not my favorite curation in terms of the contents and of the gifts, but the book was very, very good. So Let me read the blurb to you, and maybe you will put it on your TBR pile. And then when I do go through and read the passages, you have to forgive me in advance because I will probably try to do a British accent. So it says, to become a Claiborne girl, she'll have to betray one first. 1938. Gillian Larkin, lonely and away at boarding school, is used to going unnoticed. But then she meets Violet Claiborne, her vibrant roommate who takes Gilly under her wing. Violet is unlike anyone Gilly has ever met, and she regales Gilly with tales of her grand family estate and her two elegant sisters. Gilly is soon entranced by the stories of the Claibornes, so when Violet invites Gilly to meet her family at Thornley Hall, she can't believe her luck. But Gilly soon finds that behind the grand facade of Thornley Hall, darkness lurks. Dazzled by the crumbling manor and Violet's enigmatic sisters, Gilly settles into the estate. But when a horrible accident strikes on the grounds, she is ensnared in a web of the sisters' making, forced to make a choice that will change the course of her life forever. Because the Claiborne girls know how to keep secrets, even at the cost of one of their own. Dun, dun, dun. So yes, it is very much a thriller. There is much mystery, even though you kind of know who the killer is right away. There's no secret there, but there are a lot of other secrets amongst this family. So because of the setting, it was told in 4 parts. We have Gilly is our narrator the entire time, but it was very, very Downton Abbey vibes for me. So 3 sisters. So I definitely imagined the eldest sister, Emmeline, as Mary, and then Edith was the middle sister, Laura, and then of course we had the lovely Violet, and that would be the poor and tragic Sybil. But it was very like landed family, you know, where they have to take care of the people in town as the sort of lords of the manor, and the parents seemed pretty detached, honestly, unlike the Crawleys. But it was very, it was very easy for me to think of them like as those characters, and it wasn't too far off. But I kind of love that sort of setting, and all of the like politeness and things that happen behind closed doors. I could totally imagine this as like the plot of a Downton Abbey storyline, and I enjoyed it. I like the kind of gothic qualities of it sometimes too. But let's get into the gifts, and like I said, if we have time, I will get to that letter, but probably won't. Let's see. The first gift came very early on page 9, so they weren't like very equally spread out, but sometimes you come across a little sticky note like this that's just at the bottom of the page, and then let me find the accompanying gift. I thought this one was really cool with all of these foxes, and of course that had to do with the hunt, which is something that they sort of thought about later on. They're like, would all of this have happened if the sisters had been allowed to go on the hunt? Which, yet again, I totally thought of the hunt that happened on like Downton Abbey, so poor foxes. But we do wish, the girls, we do wish that Emmeline and Laura had been able to go on the hunt. So let's see. This is when she's meeting Violet at boarding school. She opened her suitcase and produced half a yellow sponge cake, wrapped in brown paper and secured with a ribbon. Mrs. Frith, that's our cook, insisted I take it with me, Violet said, unwrapping a cake knife from a checkered handkerchief. Mother doesn't like us eating cake. She takes these slimming pills the doctor gives her. They affect her nerves. She's terrified we're all going to get fat and no one will want to marry us. Sounds like a reason to eat more, if you ask me. We're not supposed to bring food in. I stared at the cake with this rich cream filling. So, we did not get cake in the fox bag, but I will show you what we did get, and I thought this was actually quite nice. I did not actually open it all the way. Oh dear, I just made it a worse knot, so you'll have to forgive me. I tied this back up and I tried to make it so that it would be easier for me to open on camera. Sometimes I don't actually even open the gifts until I do it with all of you in the unboxings, but sometimes I like to have a little preparation so that I kind of know what I think of the overall box. So they do include this. It's a tea towel. It is 26 inches by 27.5 inches. It's not very British of them to put it in inches. It's a linen cotton, machine wash cold, tumble dry low. So we have this little tag. They have it sort of like a futoshiki cloth, like tied up in each direction. So we have this gingham tea towel, and of course it is hiding something inside. It's a very like lightweight one, and it's kind of funny to me that they call it a tea towel because it just has a rough edge. There's no hem to it. So I don't know how long that will last, but it is pretty big and it does look very cute as a futoshiki, which would be great. Also just like summer picnicky vibes with that red gingham. But inside we got from Once Upon a Book Club, because again, they sort of like have all of the items branded for Once Upon a Book Club, and sometimes I wish they didn't. We have a cake serving set, but it's really pretty. So we got the knife and we got the sort of spatula. So here it is, but you can see in gold foil they wrote that it's the Once Upon a Book Club cake knife set. So it makes it a little hard to re-gift if you wanted to, because then somebody knows that you got it from a book box, which I know is good advertising for them. But I thought this was really pretty actually, with the gold and the sort of metallic marble vein handles. So, and it's a pretty sharp knife, I just discovered. But I do love, you know, I love gold kitchen accessories. So here is our cake knife. Don't worry, nothing, ooh, that was a terrible sound. Nothing really nefarious happens with cake knife, but I thought that was kind of cool, and it was actually a very pretty set. So that was a good gift. The tea towel that they actually included the label for, I was like, it's not like the best value, but it was kind of like a double gift. So that's why I can forgive the next one that's coming up. All right, the next one that's coming up was on page 47. Let's see, 47. Again, little sticky note at the bottom. And so now I believe that they are back at Violet's house. They are at Thornley Hall. So, and I was pleased we were sharing. They're sharing a room. I would have felt uneasy had I been given my own room in that huge house. A wallpaper of wide green stripes and falling roses made the bedroom feel cozy, although I noticed the paper was peeling at the edges. Towels had been laid out on the beds for us, and a sprig of winter foliage was arranged in a vase on the mantelpiece. A vase. Violet had a writing desk. Old and ink-stained, it was littered with bits and pieces she must have collected. Pheasant feathers, a cracked bluebird's egg, twigs tied with ribbons. Her labeled nature drawings, mushrooms, plants, and insects were pinned to the wall behind the desk. I noticed a detailed drawing of her beloved deadly nightshade. There were several field guides and 2 volumes of Andrew Lang's fairy books, because Violet's very childlike, and so that is why eventually Jilly finds herself wanting to be accepted by the older, more glamorous sisters. So for page 47, we just got kind of a paper gift. Not my favorite. And we got one of Violet's, drawings. So Belladonna, which of course, poison. So, but I'm like, I don't know what I would ever do with this. It's like, kind of like a scientific drawing, but it's supposed to be Violet's drawing, so it's not going to be like that level, but it's just one of those things that I don't know what I would do with. Now, had we gotten like a, you know, scientific drawing of Belladonna with like some watercolor or something, you know, a slightly more elevated interpretation of the drawing, maybe I would put it up somewhere, but maybe not. So usually like things like this, not my favorite sort of gift from Once Upon a Book Club. It's also interesting, I'm not giving anything away really, that the undoing of Violet Claiborne, that kind of has to do with, of course, what happens to Violet in the story, but she also, there's a lot of, these days, afflictions that would be diagnosed. So Violet actually has OCD, so when she's trying to do things or if she thinks she's guilty of something, she has these rituals that she does, her undoings. And then there's another character that definitely has like postpartum, but of course that's not diagnosed. And then there's another character that definitely has survivor situation, like mental health issues. So, but it's always interesting from our perspective to be like, oh, if only like they knew back in the 30s like about all these things, then some of this wouldn't have happened, and some of it probably still would have. All right, the next ones didn't come until later. It was a pretty hefty book. Page 221, we had one of their more traditional sticky notes there. Let me see if I can remember what this one is all about. Oh, this is fun. I was about to switch off my night light when we heard a light rapping at the door. Violet turned back to me and we looked at each other. The door opened and Emmeline stepped in holding a candle. In her pale dress, her thick hair around her shoulders, the candle illuminating her face, she looked like a spectre in a Victorian ghost story. We stared at her. I came to say good night, said Emmeline frankly. Even in the dim light, I could see Violet's features soften. Good night, I said, because Violet hadn't spoken and was only staring at her sister. Emmeline cleared her throat. How about we go out tomorrow morning, Piff? All of us. We could play Elvor in the woods." I bit my lip, surprised. Violet nodded, her brow furrowed. "Really, Emmy?" "Of course." So this Emmeline is quite the specter. So that was page 221. Gorgeous packaging from Once Upon a Book Club. I know, I've said it a million times. I do wish that they didn't print the page numbers because such lovely boxes. But we got and then inside, like printed as well, just lovely boxes. We have, let's see, a twist taper candle with candle holder. And then on the back side, it gives us candle care. Like, I mean, this is a really hard card. This, like, they spend a lot of money, I feel like, on a lot of the little details, which I wish they'd spent that instead to give me, like, a nicer, beautiful art print. Very gothic, right? I was gonna say, like, it almost looks like plastic and it's very lightweight, but it's a very nice candle holder, sort of matte black. This I thought was interesting. I like that they gave us a more interesting taper candle than just plain without the twist. The twist is lovely, but the choice of red I thought was very odd. It fits in there perfectly, which is very rare. Usually you have to do some wiggle, but how gothic, right? To have Emmeline come to their door and tell them, "Good night, would you like to go outside tomorrow, Piff?" That's what they call Violet, which is weird. "Piff, we'll go outside and play your little fairy games, because I need to keep you on my good side right now." So I thought this was a nice gift. It's not like super fancy quality, but in terms of a gift from Once Upon a Book Club, I mean a candle, and that the kind that you would like kind of hold as you go down the stairs and check out what's going on. I thought that was a good one. So far so good. The cake server, nice. Not the greatest tea towel, but cute enough. Candle and candle holder, interesting choice with the red, but still very nice. And then of course something that you can still continue to use. Then we have our final gift. So 2 out of 3 so far. Our final gift, oh, this was a bit of a miss for me personally. One more sticky. Quality fine, design choices not my favorite. So let's see. This is much later. This is probably in part 3 or 4. Probably in part 4. Let's see. Part 4 was very short. This is probably part 4. Several days after my impromptu return to Thornley Hall, I sit in my kitchen in the warm spring light, the letter spread out before me. White daffodils with yellow trumpets stand in a vase on my windowsill. The kitchen smells of toast and marmalade. Marmalade? Yes, part 4. And they tell us the years. So now we're all the way, I think it's 1999. So Jilly is 75. So we hear a little bit more about what happened to everyone that was there at Thornley Hall. So here we have another beautiful box. And both the boxes are so pretty. Oh, look at the interior of this one with the orchids. I thought that was really nice. And then it gives us the little card. See, like, I don't need these, but sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it makes sense because I don't understand the connection, or there have been times where I didn't know what the actual item was, but sometimes it's pretty self-explanatory. So it came in a nice box. It's a vase. It's a vase that's meant to look like a book. But why they didn't just make it like a generic book and why they had to give it a goofy title. So it is ceramic. Nice, right? Very springy. It's called, according to the vase, The Case of the Vanishing Violets, which I thought was just a little bit too, like, okay, yeah, it came from The Undoing of Violet Claiborne, but I would have rather them just given us a plain book. Like, it didn't have to have a fake title on it. And then it's there on this side as well. This side's nice with the pages. And then on the back, had to get a little branding in. It's very slight branding. The Once Upon a Book Club is just the OUABC. And they gave us a quote, a very bookish quote. "A library is a garden where the flowers are the words." Now that is fine as the little blurb on the back, but maybe they just could have given us like a very plain book. I mean, a solid color, honestly, with some like gold, designs would have been preferable. They're saying display your favorite flowers, store bookmarks, and more in this book-shaped vase. So sure, it could be a pencil jar. I would love a book-shaped vase, and I've gotten them from a couple of book boxes now, and they have yet to just give us a very simple one. Just simple, nice quality. The quality of it is great. So basically, I think they found a ceramic book-shaped vase and then had it printed with this made-up title that is supposed to, I guess, remind us of this book, which was a lovely novel, highly recommend, but I don't need this permanent of a reminder. And it just kind of sounds like a silly thing. Like, I would have rather them actually put the title of the book on there, The Undoing of Violet Claiborne. But like, then it's weird because it's like about the book, and then it's like case is really big, and then if you're not going to have violets in there, then we have violets all around the border. I don't know. And they're like actually roses that look purple versus violets. So I don't know. Decent quality, execution and design, not my favorite. So I'm going to give them, you know, out of 4, I'm going to give them 2.5 stars. First gift with the tea towel and the cake server, yes, that gets a full star. And then the painting or the drawing, none. And then the candle gets a star because it came with the candle holder, even though the red was a little weird to me. And then I'm only going to give this last gift half a star because of the design. So 2.5 stars out of 4. But the book was good. So you guys let me know if you read this book in the comments below and what you thought of the curation. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you soon in my next unboxing.